Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be doing a little bit different review. I'm going to be doing an audio review. I haven't done one of these in a while and I wanted to just switch it up a little bit. The film that I will be talking about today is 3,000 Years of Longing. This is the new fantasy drama film that just hit theaters. It is directed by George Miller. He's done the Mad Max films, he's done the Happy Feet films, and he's also done Babe as well. The film stars Tilda Swinton as Alethea and Idris Elba as Jin. And the film is about a lonely scholar on a trip to Istanbul discovers a jinn who offers her 3 wishes in exchange for his freedom. Now, this film, it is based on a short story called The Jinn in the Nightingale's Eye. Now, the film, it's been a box office bomb so far. It was in over 2,400 theaters, and this week it only made about $2.9 million on a budget of $60 million, which is absolutely terrible. So the expectations for this film were very minimal. When I saw the trailer for this film, I really wasn't that captivated by it. I usually like fantasy kind of films, but for some reason, the trailer never really hit me to really getting an interest in this film. So I really thought that would be very good visually, but story-wise, I just wasn't sure if I really was going to dig it. But the positives that I do have to say about this film is I really do like the look of the Jinn. He doesn't look like the typical genie in structure and appearance. And this is not the Will Smith genie, so don't picture watching Aladdin here. Definitely don't take the kids to go see this movie. It's a really hard R rating of a film, and there's a lot of nudity in this film, so definitely don't take the kids, and it's not your joking Will Smith here. So it is a lot different in the genie aspect here. And then Tilda Swinton's character, she's not your typical character just wanting to spend all 3 wishes with greed. She really questions the genie, and she just thinks that she's going to be screwed over, and she's really reluctant to even want to make a wish. And she's not really ever really surprised or shocked or really even bothered at the fact that when she actually sees this gem, because she ends up getting this bottle from an actual antique kind of store, and when she goes back to her room and she tries to clean the bottle, she sets the gin free. And when he comes free, she doesn't really seem like she's really bothered by it, and she doesn't really have a lot to say or if she's really in shock or anything. She just is really skeptical about these 3 wishes. So it really presents itself to be kind of a wacky film starting out. While it does start off pretty fast and quick, there isn't really any story up to the point of releasing the jinn. We're just in this room where the jinn is released and we have this situation. But then as the jinn is narrating, which he narrates the majority of the story, and the film is very heavy dialogue, but only for me, it loses its steam. He will talk about different short stories into how he got to this point, and the entire movie is just an on and on and on all-out narration. Now, some of the imagery, it looks good at parts. There's parts where it can feel a little bit repetitive. There's other parts where it's flat out green screen. There is a good use of blending different colors and shadows, but that really can only get you so far in a movie. The other problem that I had with this story is the transitioning from story to story and the chemistry between the 2 characters. It just felt very lackluster. It's very dry, and there isn't really a reason to care for either character. There's even a few beginning scenes where Tilda Swinton's character is at this meeting and she's doing like a TED talk, and she sees all these different images and she's having all these different hallucinations, but it never actually explains why she is actually seeing these different type of hallucinations. Now, I will say that the costume design between each story of set of characters, it was presented very well, and it fit with the time period. It's one of those films where it really presents itself as interesting, but as you're going through the journey, at least for me, it gets a little tiresome because the transitioning from story to story, the cuts and the editing, and there's even portions where there's so many cuts to black. I was thinking, is this the end? Oh no, this is not the end. Is this the end? And we just keep going and going and going and going, and it feels like it should have been structured a little bit differently amongst those cuts. It's hard to really be active and be attentive to situations, and it feels like it's really artsy film at points, it's very cheap at some points, and then it's very visually stunning at some points, and then it's dull at other points. Overall, it just didn't do enough to really have me recommend this film. I'm going to give a score of this film a 1.5 out of 5. This one, it just really had me really bored, and if it's any consolation, I did have some people walk out of the theater. So if you do love true slow movies with a lot of endless narration and a few cool visuals at points, you may enjoy this film. And I really don't have anything else to really say about this film. I just felt while watching this movie that it just felt a little bit pointless. We get to hear his story, and that was fine hearing these different stories. But when you take up about three-fourths of the film just really explaining all these stories and really not having any chemistry with both leads, it's very hard to take the film serious. So you do feel for the Jinn here, but you don't really get into Tilda Swinton's character at all. And when they really finish up these different stories and they go a little bit more into the present day, I just didn't really buy the whole connection with Tilda Swinton's character and Idris Elba here. Now, I don't think that the acting is bad. I just feel like the writing portion of both of these characters, even though we really get a big fleshed out character with Idris Elba. Tilda Swinton, though, I could really care less about her character. We don't know a lot about her character. We just know that she went on this trip. She releases this Jinn, and she's just listening to his different stories, and that's really about it. So the whole relationship involving these two characters, I just didn't really buy it, and it really didn't do a whole lot for me. And this film, it's definitely going to not really make any money. It's pretty apparent after this first week that nobody cared to really see this film, and it's definitely going to be one of the biggest box office bombs of the year. So if you do want to check out this movie, I would recommend watching it on streaming. However, I wouldn't rush to watch it. This is one of those films where you just ran out of things to watch, and maybe you really want a fantasy kind of film to dive into because you haven't watched a fantasy film in a while. But that's really all I can really say about this film. I can't really recommend it. I can't really say you need to really rush to watch it, but some people may really dig the whole story style and just how they really made this film. But for me, I just couldn't really get into it, and I was a little bit bored at points. Thank you guys for listening to this review. Let me know down in the comments. Are you going to check this film out? If you did check it out, did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was meh? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys on my next review.